Hi, welcome back. My name is Carrie Waltz. I'm going to share with you some ideas on how to make a limited palette. I'm working with watercolor today, but it can be used in any medium. There's 3 different ones that I'm going to focus on today, and I'm going to show you how to make them and then show you ways to use them. So I hope you stay tuned and find this information helpful. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and follow along if any of this is of interest to you. Have a super day. The materials you'll need for a limited palette, we're actually going to make one palette, but it creates 3 different types of limited palettes. I have Altoid tins. You can take them just plain, or if you want to put white paint on them and spray paint them to minimize the rust, then feel free to do that. These are half pans that I ordered online. I'll try to include the link down below. And magnets. So the first thing you want to do is take off the magnets, line them up with your half pan, put that on. That will allow you to change out the colors if you want to, and the magnets will keep your paint from falling out of your tin when you use it. Here is a kit very similar to what I just created, but the paints are already dry. I put in a little smaller clip. I always have one of these because if I don't and I want to paint outside, it is so easy for your paper towel to take flight with the wind. So a tiny little clip will hold your paper towel here and you will be ready to paint. You'll have your water brush already filled with water. Nice point on this. This is my favorite one. It's a Pentel water brush, size large, and now I'm ready. I can paint with the primary palette with just these 3 colors. I can paint with a warm palette, what I consider my warm limited palette, with the burnt sienna and the ultramarine blue. I could paint with just one of these and create a monochromatic painting. Monochromatic means you just deal with lights and darks of one color. So you would just pick one of these. So with this small format, I actually have multiple choices to create work with. And it is very lightweight. Something like this is what I usually carry with me in my purse or my backpack. It's close to a ½ pound. When I add the extra paper in, is I think 9 ounces. If I took a smaller handmade journal that wasn't bound like this in so many pages, then it wouldn't weigh as much either. But this is my current travel journal, and I like to kind of keep it up to date and use it when possible. So that's what I keep with me. It has everything I need to paint with. My supply of paper towels, I keep them folded up and in a Ziploc bag. Here's the palette we just made, the 4 colors, the 3 primaries, burnt sienna, small clip, and a kneading eraser. I have this pipette so that I can suck up water from my water bottle and pour it right into my brush. The brush that I like, again, is my favorite, is my Pentel. You just unscrew it, fill it with water, close it back up. I'm always have a water bottle with me. If you have other brands, make sure that they have good points. I love this one with a good point. It's a size large. It's and always put the lid back on it when you're not using it. The other day I thought I did. I got distracted, didn't do it, and then it got dried out and a crooked point on the end because it ended up resting on its point, which was a sad moment for me. I like the Uni-ball eye. It's a inexpensive black ink and it flows really nice and it's pretty waterproof. So I use this if I'm going to paint draw lines after I paint. I always carry a mechanical pencil. My favorite whiteout pen for highlights is the Uni-ball Signo. It is more opaque than a jelly roll pen, so I like that. I use that for highlights when I need it, or to cover up boo-boos when I write and misspell something. I can usually cover it up. And the 005 Prismacolor Premium teeny tiny fine point pen. So this is what is in my normal everyday kit. When we only have 4 colors, a limited palette, we have to figure out how are we going to use these colors. And the first thing I would recommend you do, other than making a little key for the top of your palette, is play with them. See what colors you can come up with. You know that yellow and blue make a green. Or you should know yellow and blue make a green. So let's do this. Take your yellow, put it in one corner. Take your red, put it in another corner. Take your blue, put it in another corner. Those are your primaries. And let's go in between. Take yellow, wipe your brush when you need to. Yellow and red make orange. That might be a little red-orange, so I'm going to put it closer to the red. Then I'm going to add more yellow to it. And that could be my orange. And then I could add more yellow to it. Wipe my brush, more yellow to it. That could be my yellow-orange. I have yellow. I already have a little green mixed. Let's add more yellow to it. So that's a yellow-green. It's got more yellow in it than blue. Wipe your brush, add a touch more blue, then you've got more of a green. Add a touch more blue, you've got a blue-green. You've got blue here, blue and red. Anything between these two colors will be made from those. So I'm going to have blue here. I'm going to add a little bit of red to it. See what I get. That's a pretty good purple. Or violet, if you want to call it that. I'll put that right in the middle because that did pretty good to start off with. I'm going to add a little more red to it. Make it red-violet. Oop, might have added a little too much, so grab another little bit of blue. Oh, guess what? Got really dark. But I can test it here. Still has a lot of red in it. It's leaning more toward red. It's darker, but it's more toward red. I might have to redo my violet. We'll see. Blue-violet leans more toward blue. That's pretty close. I want to make sure it leans more toward blue than it does red. Yep. There you go. So there's my color wheel out of those 3 colors. And then when I throw in burnt sienna is somewhat of an orange. I'm going to put that, well, see, I didn't clean my brush, but I had blue in it. So blue plus the burnt sienna makes almost a black. So if I make that darker, pick up a little more blue, a little more sienna, then I have a dark. It's just a great way to learn your color wheel. It's a good way to minimize what you have to take with you. I can mix in here. If I run out of room, then I can move something over, lift it out. I can also carry another palette with me if I want to. Even just another empty can. Tin would give you 2 palettes if you didn't have any paint in it. But I really it's amazing what I can get out of this small area. It didn't take me long to mix all those colors. If I want to use just a limited palette with monochromatic, say first of all, let me clean that blue, make sure I don't have any red in it. I don't think I do. All right, so I'm going to load my brush with blue. So here's a nice loaded blue, pretty dark. All right, if I keep going with this brush, maybe wipe in between, I'm going to get less and less paint on my brush each time. So it gets lighter and lighter. Every time I wipe my brush, I have less paint on it. Well, let's wipe it even a little bit more. Or I can come back and lift off some of these. If I want to have very, very little blue, I have very, very little paint on it. Some of these are kind of the same, so I was trying to make them different. But one load of the brush did all those colors. So when I work with a monochromatic color scheme like this is, all different values of one hue, sometimes I'll start with the darkest darks like I do when I paint oil, and I'll paint in those darkest darks and then go to the little lighter ones as I run out of paint in my brush. Or I can make little puddles over here that have lighter blue and not come straight from the palette. If I come straight from the palette, it's going to be a stronger paint. If I make a little puddle out here, it'll be diluted because, of course, there's water. All right, that makes sense. So this is my primary palette. This is my monochromatic palette. And again, monochromatic could be done with any color. I just would avoid the yellow because it's already so light. And this yellow is already dirty because I didn't wipe my brush between. But I can pretty much clean my palette just by going in with an empty brush. Just take it and wipe it off and clean it on my paper towel. As long as my paper towel comes out clean, like this, then my brush is clean. There are some colors that will stain the tip of your brush, and as long as that's clean, then you know you can go in and start another color. Now, if I want to just use these two as warm and cool, because I said I would show you 3 different types of palettes, I'm going to wet this down. I could have just let it dry and use it again, but I need the palette for something else, or the mixing palette. So see, just wet it down, wipe it out, and you've got all new, ready to go. So if I'm working with the burnt sienna and the for my warm, and my ultramarine blue for my cool, what I like to do is make 3 little puddles. One of them will be blue for the cool, and then we'll go over here. I think there was actually some blue in that. We'll go over here and make a burnt sienna pile for my warm. And I kind of drag the edge of the brush. You can see how when I drag it on the edge here, it makes a puddle in there. Main thing is, if you have a puddle here and you're through painting, don't close your palette because obviously the wet paint will get all messed up. So just sop up any puddles you have before you close your palette. So we're going to use only these 2 colors. Now, when I mix colors, I often just try to get them off of the same side of their little containers. All right, so when I mix these 2, I might need to reload my brush. All right, so I'm going to take a little bit of that, a little bit of that. Makes a nice dark, kind of neutralizes each other. So if I'm, say, painting, well, let me just grab another sheet of paper real quick. So if we're going to be working with what I consider my warm cool palette, and this isn't the only way to do it, I have burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. I just found this photo that hydrangeas that are really pretty, and I'm just going to show you how I might deal with something like that. So I'm going to lay in a cluster of flowers here, cluster over here. I did not I did not wet my paper first. So I want this darker part underneath where the shadow is. I want it a little darker, so I'm going to grab some of that burnt sienna in here. It doesn't have to look totally realistic. That's not what I'm not always going for that. And we have a leaf here. There's a shadow there. It gets a little lighter. There's another leaf here. And there's some more flowers over here. They're a little more pale. I want the underneath part here a little darker. And we have this vase that's right in about here. I'm not going to worry about the stripes on it. I think it is kind of interesting how the water creates a little warped, a little changes the lines just a little bit. I'm not going to spend that much time on it, so never mind. I'm not even going by the picture anymore. I'm just
mix those two together, create a shadow back here. Well, this probably wasn't the best option to show you with these two colors, but things don't have to be the colors that they are. Leaves can be blue, flowers can be brown. They kind of look dead. That's why it's like it probably wasn't the best. I'm going to create a new, add water, different background, soften this a bit, soften that edge a bit. I don't mind this hard edge where this is, but I'm going to blur out some of these and just make it more loose. That got a little wet. Okay, so I want a little more definition. I'll go back, make those flowers, again, watercolor dries lighter, make those deeper, bluer. I'm going to make the shadow darker. Doesn't need to be that vibrant though. I like that better. All right, there are some stems and things coming in there. There are some leaves that we didn't indicate. Put a little leaf over here. I don't really like that. That's too distracting. There's a leaf in here. There's a leaf out here. Yeah, I'm going to leave that and let it dry a bit. But I still have the feel of flowers in a vase. Not necessarily this vase. And, you know, sometimes I have a tendency to overwork things. Y'all never do that, do you? Nah. But just have fun with it. Play with it. See what you can get. See the look that you can get with just two colors.